Good day, students. Aventurine comes out winning once again as his kit looks like Gepard's on steroids, as he can provide a ridiculous number of shields to the entire party without any effort from his part through his skill and talent, while also bringing a higher degree of damage contribution to the team. It seems like I was also right about him being a more offensive-focused preservation unit in my previous video, as he will periodically unleash a follow-up attack on the enemies. So let us quickly dive into what makes him a compulsive winner. Sit down, open your notebooks, and sharpen your pencils, as today's class is hereby in session. Let's start with his basic attack. Nothing glamorous here, just a straightforward basic attack against a single target enemy, although it should be noted that the scaling is based on his defense, so it should still do some respectable damage once you stack up on the defense and crit stats. Moving on to his skill, which is his main source of protection for the team, Aventurine stylishly adjusts his watch on his wrist and provides every member of the team with a shield named Fortified Wager, with almost half of the scaling you would get from a Gepard ultimate. But compared to Gepard, the shields provided by this skill can stack up to 200% of their value, meaning you can easily surpass Gepard's shield from his ultimate with this skill. Pretty nuts, if you ask me. Next up is his talent, which can be considered the main showpiece of his kit. Since it does quite a number of things at the same time, let me break it down into parts. First, it provides every ally with Fortified Wager a 50% effect resistance, which if it were just this part alone, would have been enough to be insane, as this amount of effect resistance will make any fight against Cocolia or that annoying deer pretty much a walk in the park, since the chances for your team to get crowd controlled will go down the drain. Apart from the increase in effect resistance, Aventurine will also get 1 point of blind bet every time an ally gets hit while the Fortified Wager is active on them. This means that in AoE scenarios or against bosses with multi-hit abilities, you will gain blind bet much faster. This should be noted for a bit later in his talent. But going forward, if gaining 50% effect resistance, Aventurine himself will resist any crowd control effect on the off chance one would have gone through to his effect resistance while the shield is present on him. But keep in mind this would be available just for one case, and it has a 2-turn cooldown once it applies. So in case you are fighting an enemy with an absurd amount of crowd control and effect hit rate on him, then you are more than likely to get hit on the second application. But since there isn't such a boss currently in the game, you can look at this part as a nice added bonus for him. Also, he gets an additional point of blind bet when he himself gets hit while the shield is active, another nice way to reach the blind bet cap needed. And speaking of the cap needed, once he reaches 7 points, he will snap his finger and unleash the mother load on the enemies from above their heads, dealing damage based on his defense. It's important to note that this attack is counted as a follow-up attack, and it does 7 hits of damage to a single enemy, meaning its worth will vary based on the situation you are in. If you are against a single target, then all hits will hit this target, and you will break his weakness bar more efficiently, while if you are in AoE scenarios, the hits will hit random enemies, increasing the damage of the attack and allowing it to finish off the smaller HP enemies. His technique brings his gambling nature back to light by rolling the dice on the amount of defense he will provide to each member of the team for 3 turns at the start of the fight. It's nice they implemented a pity system on this one, so when you do get a higher value from it, it will be the one active at the start of the fight if you were trying to get the biggest one, but you only manage to get the middle one in all 5 tries. Gotcha within a gotcha. What more can you ask for? Finally, his ultimate continues on his gambling nature by first granting him any number between 1 and 7 of the blind bet stacks, meaning, depending on your luck, you could get a follow-up attack from his talent to proc immediately, or just a meager 1 stack. Apart from this gamble, he also does a respectable amount of damage to a single enemy and also applies the unnerved debuff to said enemy, which will increase the crit damage received by the target by 15%. A nice damage increase for the team, especially against bosses, also makes him a great partner for units that are in love with debuff stacking mechanics, like Acheron or Dr. Ratio. In terms of trace stats, he will get 35% defense, 14.4% imaginary damage boost, and 10% effect resistance. I swear, if any of you get your Aventurine crowd controlled, you are playing an entirely different game. For major traces, he gets a whopping 48% crit rate increase once you get him to 4,000 defense from his A2, because I guess he saw what Jingliu was doing and thought I could do it as well, I guess. Jokes aside, this trace allows you to build him with more focus on damage dealing, as you can achieve a pretty decent crit ratio. From his A4, he basically gets free use of his skill at the start of the fight and grants every ally the same shield from his skill. This also allows you to stack the fortified wager by using his skill on top of this shield at the start of the fight. Lastly, his A6 turns him into the go-to sustain unit for follow-up teams, as every time an ally does a follow-up attack, he will get a blind bet stack up to 3 times, at least until the start of his next turn, when the trigger will reset. Additionally, it now also applies a lower value fortified wager when he does his follow-up attack to every member of the team, and one more additionally to the lowest HP unit in the team, allowing him to keep his shields active most of the time just from his talent alone, without needing to refresh it via the skill, making a very skill-efficient unit. And considering that the frequency of this follow-up attack is reduced by having more follow-up attacks from your team, it goes without saying that his best team will be a follow-up team. And with that segue, let's go over his best partners in crime or finance. Of course, Topaz will be amazing with him, as both IPC agents are focused on follow-up attacks. The one and only Dr. Ratio is also a great option, as he does not lack in the amount of follow-up attacks he can provide, and running all 3 of them will most likely guarantee an absurd level of single target damage. For more AoE, Jingyuan is the way to go, or for a more budget-friendly option, Herta. But apart from the follow-up units, as he increases the crit damage taken by the enemy, he can also work just fine with a crit-based team, especially in the Imbibitor team with Sparkle, as both of them are of the imaginary element. This team should work wonders in the imaginary weak upper floors of MOC. He should also be serviceable in a dot team if you have no other choice, as even though the team won't be able to capitalize on the crit damage from his ultimate, the protection provided by his shields should be greater than the healing provided by a less strong unit like Natasha, for example. Ruin Mei also synergizes exceptionally well with Aventurine, particularly against foes susceptible to imaginary damage, since Aventurine, as mentioned previously, excels at dealing break damage for a preservation character, especially in single-target scenarios. Clara's frequent follow-up attacks will also help Aventurine in receiving more blind bet stacks, which in turn will result in more follow-ups and shields from himself, making them a solid duo. Acheron is an amazing choice as well, as he can provide a debuff via his ultimate. She can also benefit from the crit damage increase from his ultimate, and if you also have his light cone, he will be able to provide her with an additional debuff so he can reach her 9 stacks faster. He is for sure the best sustain option available for her currently released. For stats, as he is a preservation unit focused on shield strength, a mix of HP and defense will increase his survivability, with of course more focus on defense, as this will be his primary attribute combined with crit stats to maximize his damage. Try to aim for 4,000 defense to maximize his A2 trace crit buff and around 3k and higher HP, with an ideally 1-to-2 crit ratio, considering he gets a massive amount of crit rate from his A2 70-75% crit rate with a 140-150% and up crit damage ratio can be achieved. He doesn't need speed, as he can reapply his shield via his talent, therefore you can run defense or crit damage on your body and defense on the boots, orb, and rope. The defense rope can be substituted for an energy regen rope to help him get his ultimate faster to get more blind bet stacks and to get more follow-ups from it. For relic sets, Knight of Purity Palace will be the best choice to maximize his shields. You could also go for a mix between this one and Wastelander, or Grand Duke for more damage from his follow-ups. For planar sets, it depends on the situation, but if you have Broken Keel, it will most likely be your go-to choice for the effect resist and the additional crit damage boost. Billabong for additional shield strength, Salsodo for more DPS, or Penacony if you have an imaginary DPS in the team. For light cones, he has a decent number of options available both in 4-star and 5-star variants. For 5-star options, obviously his signature will be the best in slot, as it will provide him with highest defense value, a nice crit damage buff for himself, and a damage increase debuff added to his talent. Apart from his signature, Japar's light cone is also a great alternative, since this one will theoretically provide him with even more defense than his signature once he gets hit, and the increased taunt value will also help with his blind bet stack generation. So, if you have the resources to get it from the monthly shop, or already have one in the inventory, bring that puppy up. As for 4-star options, Day 1 of My New Life is a good option, especially if you have it at higher superimposition. This will provide him with the nice defense stat, but also make your team tankier via the damage resist effect. The newly added concert for 2 is also nice, in case you are trying to roll for his signature and got unlucky. This one is a decent stand-in for it, as it has a higher defense value compared to Day 1, and it will also boost his own damage. The Herta newly introduced LC is also a good option, since it will boost his damage and also double down on the non-getting crowd-controlled gag. He is running with the effect resistance it provides. The Battle Pass LC is also decent if you want him to do more damage with his ultimate, and finally, the Trend LC will be the best option if you are planning on running him with either Acheron or with a Dot team, since especially in AoE scenarios, where he will get used more often, this thing will proc like crazy. In terms of Eidolons, he doesn't really need any of them, but his E1 and E4 will provide the most value, while if you are going for E6, congratulations, you just unlocked the option to not use a DPS in your team anymore, as Aventurine will also do this role as well. And with all of the technical stuff out of the way, let's have some fun with the #1 gambler of the galaxy into MOC 12 and see how he fares. I will run him in a team with Acheron, Silverwolf, and Pella, focused on boosting Acheron's damage and to also enable Aventurine to deal some shield damage via Silverwolf's weakness implant. As you can see in the background, my Aventurine is not yet fully built, and also Silverwolf and Pella have been kept at a lower investment. The only unit out of this team which can be considered well invested into is Acheron. Without further ado, let's cue the music and see if our boy can keep his girls alive through this ordeal.
入りた運試しと行こうほとばしい過去の伝説厄介そうガツンとくるやつで行こうまだ立ち上がりますか出発の時間だ全てが消える涙雨ヒックリティベッド僕が出そう買いだバトル体験を改善2倍速ってこんなもん敵データ集捕獲マーク起動愉快な反撃の時間です効果はここにありこちら側がゆふん涙雨プリティ遊んであげるよサイは投げ全てを失うはたまた手に入れるから気をつけて沈黙よ敵ターゲットまだ立ち上がりますか買いだ あなた
敵データ収集捕獲マーク起動。愉快な反撃の時間です。
全て
すぐ餌にかかる。
ゲームの始まりだ。
バトル体験を2倍速ってこんなもん。
終局はすぐから気をつけて。
おや、
いいねだ。
ガツンとくるやつでいこう。
涙ヒックリティインドー
僕が出そう。オールイン買いだ。全部かけよ
敵データ収集捕獲マーク起動。愉快な反撃の時間です。敵データ収集捕獲マーク起動。愉快な反撃の時間です。
涙ヒックリティ
ガツンとくるやつでいこう。
あがく必要はなさ全て
支援開始いたします。まだ立ち上がりますか。
気をつけて。
へえ、リポップした。いや、バトル体験を2倍速ってこんなもん。
涙ヒックリティインドー
終局はすぐからを買いだ。のさばる
出発の時間だ
まだ立ち上がりますか。敵データ収集捕獲マーク起動。愉快な反撃の時間です。
オールオアナッシングだ。
涙クリテ
敵データ収集捕獲マーク起動。愉快な反撃の時間です。
気をつけて。
敵ターゲットを確認。
愛は投げ全てを失うか、はたまた手に入れるか。
ィインドー涙クリテ
すぐ餌にかかる。ガツンとくるやつでいこう。2倍速ってこんなもん。
買いだ。
おや、
あなたそれすべて
ベッド。僕が出そう。オールオアナッシングだ。気をつけて。
涙ヒックリティ
So, in conclusion, with a very solid kit which just appears to be restricted to follow-up compositions, but actually is usable by almost any archetype, being of a valued element for end-game content, and practically forcing Japar to take a job at his sister's shop, Aventurine has certainly made a splash both in terms of meta and story, and looks to remain relevant for a long time. But I want to know, what are your thoughts on him? Have you rolled on him, or did you throw everything on Acheron? Or perhaps are you saving for one of the upcoming units? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I am Professor Veritas Ratio, and remember, stay smart and sexy.